He couldn't finish a thought. He couldn't land an answer. And his closing thoughts were even botched. I mean, come on. For me, Joe Biden is still the man for this moment.
Following the debate on Thursday night, there was a lot of discussion about the possibility of replacing Joe Biden, or at least the discussion from people that would not normally have that discussion, including commentators on MSNBC, CNN, Democratic operatives, even a Democratic surrogate in Claire McCaskill, discussing the possibility that maybe Joe Biden is not ready for this. Now, it's been a few days. And as I predicted in that video, we have seen sort of the allowing this to blow over. At least that has become very clear, especially when it applies to, say, Morning Joe, that was saying something very different on Friday morning compared to what they're saying on Monday morning. So there's a lot of reaction I want to get to in this video. So including the reaction from Joe Biden's family, a new Joe Biden campaign ad that addresses some of these issues. And let's start with Trump's stupid post. This was, I believe, Friday morning, June 29th. So this is like, of course, this is what Trump is known for doing, is somehow making this about himself and playing victim. As I walked off the stage on Thursday night at the end of the highly anticipated debate, I don't know why that's in quotes, anchors, political reporters, and all screamed that I had the greatest debate performance in the long and storied history of presidential debates. Literally, nobody said that. They all said effectively, Trump was fantastic. This theme was universal, even at CNN and MSDNC, which also did not happen. No one, okay, let's move on. But Friday evening, it was all about the poor performance of Crooked Joe and not so much about how well I did. Oh well, that's the way it is. But importantly, the result is the same. Donald Trump is perturbed that there wasn't more discussion about his debate performance. He should be happy there wasn't, because Trump didn't do well either. He lied the entire time. What discussion there was about how much he lied. The reason why Trump was overshadowed is because you could say, to Trump's credit, he sort of allowed Biden to just do what he did. I think if Trump had gone in and really hammered Joe and played the bully, I don't think it would have helped him. I think it may have taken the attention away from how poorly Joe Biden did and put more attention on how much of a bully and outlandish Donald Trump was. But because Donald Trump was more subdued, kind of stayed out of it, didn't really interject too much or at all, the discussion was more about how poor Joe Biden was, and also how often Donald Trump lied. Now, this is where this piece in Axios I find to be very interesting. The two Joe Bidens, the night America saw the other one. So they go on to discuss Biden's miscues and limitations are more familiar inside the White House. The time of day is important as to which of the two Bidens will appear. From 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Biden is deeply engaged, and many of his public events in front of cameras are held within those hours. Outside of that time range, or while traveling abroad, Biden is more likely to have verbal miscues and become fatigued, aides told Axios. So essentially, Joe Biden is an elderly man. Now, this is a serious problem when it comes to campaigning. I want to be very clear here because there is a lot of, confusion from some people who are offended that we can see with our eyes and hear with our ears and saw how terrible Joe Biden was on Thursday. People saying, oh, but you don't want Trump. The issue isn't about the job as president. The issue is about, can Joe Biden win an election when he can't properly campaign? When you see these two side by side on a debate stage, and even though they're only a few years apart in age, one, you could argue, I would argue, at least in that debate, one appeared 20 years younger than the other one. That is a problem when it comes to campaigning. That doesn't mean I think Trump is more dependable or would do a better job. Of course not. And also, it's important to note, the president is one person. When you elect a president, you are electing their staffers, their cabinet, that party. That is who does most of the work. So the issue here isn't about Joe Biden or Trump. It's really about, can Joe Biden win an election when he is campaigning or acting this way in front of cameras up to election day? That is the problem. If it were up to me, I would vote for a glass of water over Donald Trump. And that's more because of what the threat that Trump and Republicans pose compared to Democrats. Now, thankfully, for all of our sanity, there were Democrats, sitting Democrats, that were willing to discuss this. So this is with Ali Velshi on MSNBC. Here is Jamie Raskin.
Obviously, there was a big problem with Joe Biden's debate performance. And there's also just a tremendous reservoir of affection and love for Joe Biden in our party. And so this makes it a difficult situation for everybody. But there are very honest and serious and rigorous conversations taking place at every level of our party because it is a political party and we have differences of point of view. I mean, if you compare that to the non-existent dialogue and conversation that took place in the Republican Party after Donald Trump's criminal conviction on 34 counts, it's remarkable.
Jamie Raskin here makes a great point, because here he is openly discussing the issue with Joe Biden, as a lot of Democrats on Thursday night and into Friday and into the weekend did, and acknowledging that Republicans are not doing the same when it comes to Donald Trump. Now, part of that is obvious. The Republican base is the Trump base. If they don't care about Trump's convictions, if they don't care that he is a criminal, then party leadership, the party generally, the politicians, Republican politicians, are not going to care either. The issue with Joe Biden is that voters do care about Joe Biden's performance. Democratic voters care. Independent voters care. The voters that Joe Biden needs to come out to vote on election day, they're worried. So that's why it becomes a greater issue here. But it's also just, I think, because the Democratic Party is such a larger tent in terms of the ability for them to reach out to a wider swath of voters. I mean, that's the reason why when turnout is high, Democrats win. It's because there is a greater ability for Democrats to reach out to more people. Whereas the GOP base tends to be, we're talking like 90% white. It is very concentrated, but they are reliable voters. Whereas Democratic voters tend to vote for people that inspire them. But this gets to the other discussion here. So this was Morning Joe on Friday morning discussing the debate.
He couldn't finish a thought. He couldn't land an answer. And his closing thoughts were even botched. I mean, come on. There are people who are going, what the hell is going on? It's a fair question, given that it's not just a bad night. It's one of the most important nights of this election cycle. And he was terrible. So how do people move forward and get a sense that he's going to be okay, that it was just a bad night? What needs to happen?
Mika Brzezinski there is so angry that she is throwing her pen on the table. Compare that to Monday morning, where it was a very different tune.
On Friday's show, I should clarify, Joe said it may be time for Biden to consider stepping aside. He also said we should wait a few days to see how he responds. We're shoulder to shoulder on that. I do agree. Joe Biden has work to do. He has to do better. His team has to do a lot better. I'm just not ready, though, to count Joe Biden out, not even close. I think in the days and weeks ahead, as we move away from this debate, clarity will hopefully set in. For me, Joe Biden is still the man for this moment.
How different could that have possibly been? The tone just completely 180. And that statement on Monday, it's a longer statement. She also, to be fair, in the middle of that, does a really good takedown of Trump, but we've seen those a million times. The point here is that there was such a different tone in terms of Joe Biden as the candidate and if he should still be the candidate. On Friday, they're openly questioning that. They're criticizing how terrible Biden appeared, and on Monday, Mika Brzezinski reading out a statement off a teleprompter, which the show doesn't normally do. They'll do it for news, but not usually for their opinions. Reading out a teleprompter statement about how important it is to support Joe Biden, how she still supports Joe Biden. Just a complete shift, and it's basically what I expected. Like it's very easy to get lost in the moment with these sorts of events, but as the days passed, and this applies to a lot of politics, people wait it out, and things go away, and they blow over, and you get back to square one. That appears to be the case here, and it's bolstered by the fact that Joe Biden's family is full on supporting him. So this is a piece from Politico from Monday morning. Biden's family privately criticizes top advisors and pushes for their ouster at Camp David meeting. So forget about maybe talking to Grandpa and, hey, Grandpa, maybe it's time to step aside, time to let someone else in here. It's no. Not only is it not your fault, but we should be firing people on your campaign because it's their fault, as opposed to you and your own performance. So just to scroll down. So they privately trashed his top campaign advisors at Camp David this weekend, blaming them for the president's flop in Thursday's debate and urging Biden to fire or demote people in his political high command. These people said that the Biden family wanted the president to continue in the campaign rather than end his career with a calamitous debate performance against Trump, whom they all loathe. First Lady Jill Biden and his son Hunter were the loudest voices urging the president to stay in the contest. The two people that the world needs to pressure, to put pressure on Joe Biden to step aside, are the two people that are instead encouraging him to continue on. If they are so worried about Trump, as they should be, then they should know this isn't the way to beat him. This is the riskiest choice for Democrats. And, if people hope to replace Biden, it requires Biden to step aside. That is, you can't really work around him at the convention. He has to decide that it's time to go. Now, this is the new ad they have put out. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments.
Did you see Trump last night? I mean it sincerely. The most lies told in a single debate. He lied about the great economy he created. He lied about the pandemic he botched. And then, his biggest lie, he lied about how he had nothing to do with the insurrection of January 6th. We all saw with our own eyes.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you.
We saw police being attacked, the Capitol being ransacked. He did not a single thing to stop it, nothing. Folks, I know I'm not a young man, but I know how to do this job. I know right from wrong. I know how to tell the truth. And I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
All right, so I will continue to question how important debate ads really are, especially in this case. When it's the president, people already have formed opinions on both Biden and Trump. It's not like there's a new candidate out there trying to get their ideas across or their message across. People know who these two candidates are. But in terms of a campaign ad, I think this was pretty solid because it refocuses on where the campaign wants to focus, on Trump and the threat of Trump, and also is able to showcase here that Joe Biden has some energy sometimes. This portion was shot, the Joe Biden portion was shot the day after the debate, clearly between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. So he had some energy, and it's important for the campaign itself to showcase that. Now, again, will this have any impact? People are so, already stuck in who they support. The issue here is, can Democrats reach people that they need to come out to vote? Young people especially. I don't know if a television ad is really going to accomplish that now. Maybe it appears on Twitch and YouTube. Still, I don't know the importance of an ad like this. Young people are more concerned about actual issues and human rights. And that's where Biden over the past year has lost a lot of support, is his ongoing endorsement and support of Netanyahu and the far right-wing Israeli government. Now, this is the most recent poll I've seen on this from CBS News and YouGov, taken June 28th to 29th. Have mental and cognitive health to serve as president? 50% say Trump does. Only 27% say Biden does. So 72% say Biden does not. 49% say Trump does not. This gets to, I think, as well, just Democratic voters are more willing to be introspective, are more willing to acknowledge reality. This is the result you get. Whereas, the entire MAGA base, of course, thinks Trump is God himself. So he's going to have a higher support here. But the Biden campaign, trying to combat this. So the day after the debate, they released a list of talking points for fans. So in emails to Democratic supporters, look, people were laughing at this, and I think it's fine to laugh at this, as I am laughing at this. But I do think this is smart of the campaign to do. Like, just give some quick point-by-point breakdown of how to vouch for Joe Biden. So expanded healthcare to millions of families, lowered the price of insulin, created more jobs than any president in history, vaccinated the country, took the largest climate action in the history of the world, canceled student loans for nearly 5 million people, rallied the world in support of Ukraine and expanded NATO, passed the largest national funding for passenger rail since the founding of Amtrak, and it just goes on and on and on and on. I don't know what this is. Oh, okay. I think that's just a mistake. That's supposed to be part of this. I assume this is a Mediaite typo and not a campaign email typo. But this would be a reason maybe. No, this is good. This is good. I thought I was talking about investing more money into that, which would be a problem. But largely good. That there have been things that Biden has done, especially as it applies to labor rights. And it isn't really Joe Biden. It is more so the people that he is, with his team, decided to put in those positions. But the NLRB has been stronger than ever under Joe Biden. And that, I think, has been sort of lost, again, since October, because of the human rights atrocities taking place that Biden is supporting. But a lot of this stuff, it may be important to people and is worth noting if you're a Democratic operative or, I guess, supporter and want to talk to your family about this stuff that are maybe a little not so enthused about Joe Biden for obvious reasons. But it appears the campaign is going to continue. Like, he's not stepping aside. His family wants him to continue. He's going to continue, even though donors also, I've read some other information about this. Donors are apparently worried, and some of them calling to get their money back. That may be the one thing that pushes this over is if the donors completely fall out from under him. But even in that, money is less of a problem, or I should say, money means less in a presidential race because people already know you got two choices, and there's billions in free media about the two choices, just in the coverage of these campaigns. So getting your name out there isn't really important when it comes to running for president because your name is going to be out there regardless. But even still, that's what Democrats tend to be worried most about is money, resources, support from insiders. If that completely falls out, then there could be changes. But seeing how this is already beginning to blow over, I really don't think anything will change. This will continue to be the candidate, and Democrats have to figure out a way to ensure that they can avoid a second Trump presidency.